In the 1930s, both Castlevale and Coronation Parks were a haven for families in Berwick upon Tweed. In an age when many lived in poor housing, it was a chance to enjoy clean air and peace, somewhere that was always a delight to the eyes. Travellers crossing the Royal Border Bridge could look out and be captivated by Berwick and the majesty of its parks. But not so long ago, the view wasn't quite the same. Over the decades, the parks had become neglected, and what was once a beautiful green space had deteriorated to this. Fortunately, in June 2011, Northumberland County Council was awarded £53,200 from the Heritage Lottery Fund. This supported a feasibility study that, in December 2012, enabled the project to garner a further £890,700 from the Heritage Lottery Fund. Berwick Town Council and Northumberland County Council, with in-kind volunteer time from individuals and community groups such as Castlegate Area Residents Association, boosted these reserves to nearly £943,000 in order to restore and maybe improve these beautiful parks.
My name's Kate Morrison. I'm the Parks Project Development Officer for the Berwick Parks Project. My role really is to engage people with the project, so to bring in school groups, community groups and make them feel that they're involved with the parks, and also to do the bulk of the gardening and maintenance work in the parks.
I'm Andrew Gardner. I work for TGP Landscape Architects, and our role within the project was to pull together everything to submit a bid to the HLF, come up with the designs for the project and the parks, and then once the funding was in place, we brought together everything as a contract package and sort of supervised the works on site as they've gone ahead.
My name is Jennifer Mosley and I live in Berwick, and I work with the Berwick Parks Project as a volunteer. I've been working in the park for about 6 years now.
Well, my name's Jim Herbert. I run a blog called Berwick Timelines. I've worked in the heritage industry in Berwick for the last 16 years, so my involvement with the Berwick Parks Project has been to provide some historic background for the project. Behind me, this retaining wall is one of those little blink-and-you'll-miss-it bits of Berwick history, which I love. If you look very closely, you can see a piece of stone that's actually the top of a capital. It's an acanthus leaf or something like that, which must have tumbled down the hill from the castle when it was demolished by the railway and just incorporated into the wall later.
Before the workmen moved in, the contractors there started work. It was a case of keeping the place tidy and doing some planting, and we had one or two ideas to improve the park, so we started work on that.
They definitely think the parks were long overdue for a revamp. They've suffered a lot from lack of investment, mainly due to cuts in government funding and less staff on the ground to maintain them. People have a lot of memories of the parks as they were right up to the 70s. They were probably maintained to quite a high standard, so it's a great chance to bring them back to what they were.
I'm really pleased that the parks have been revamped, because a lot of the time when I speak to people, they don't even realise that the parks are there. People that have lived in Berwick more or less all their lives, just it's a sort of a forgotten area, and so now it's up and running and the work's being done. People are realising and coming and having a look.
When they're complete, will like I say, bring a bigger footfall to the area. People actually going into the parks, I think previously they might have been a bit overgrown and dark and a bit unwelcoming, particularly sort of Castlegate Park. So by opening it up and restoring the features within it, you hope to get more people to come into that area. Tourists obviously arriving at the train station, you know, the new signage and interpretation and access into the parks will hopefully bring more people in there. So it's, as much as anything, it's getting that footfall through the parks, which in turn sort of means there's more of a public presence there, which can sort of discourage people from getting up to other activities in there.
I hope this will make people in the town and visitors alike more aware of the history of the castle in particular, and also that it will provide people with an alternative route into town, a place to walk their dogs, a place of peace and quiet, which was what these parks were built for originally.
The favourite part of the park is going to be the lily pond for me, because it's going to just look amazing with the water and the water lilies and the pond dipping areas of it for the children.
What I'd like to see is I'd like to see more people in the parks on a daily basis and see the parks getting used better, and for people of Berwick to start taking more ownership of the parks, whether that's visiting them more often or actually coming and helping in the parks and helping to maintain the parks and being part of the events that are on in the parks.
We can get a lot of background information to find out what was previously there, and there's obviously a lot of anecdotal evidence as well. And then it's trying to reinstate that in a sort of 21st century way, using sort of more modern construction methods and things like that. It's quite difficult sort of logistically actually getting machinery in to do the works, so it's sort of trying to work with the contractor to get that stuff, to get the machinery in, get the works completed and obviously on time.
I think everyone's looking forward to seeing the lily pond area being renovated. Everyone has said to me, oh, are they getting water back in the lily ponds? Is that going to be a fountain? Well, we'll just have to wait and see, won't we?
I've always enjoyed going down the park and sitting, enjoying the sunshine, because it's a real sun trap, Castlegate Park, and it's very peaceful and beautiful bird song. So it's, with the bird song and the views and the sunshine, it's just a great place to be. At the end of the project, I'm really looking forward to Berwick people being able to enjoy it, to come and see it's as it's restored to something like it was in the 1930s, but with that modern twist. And the restoration of the lily pond is something I'm really looking forward to. That's a great favourite with a lot of people in Berwick, and I just can see the whole place. It's going to be full of beautiful plants and flowers, and a whole lot of things that can bring pleasure to people. I mean, parks are there for people, and so we want the people to come and enjoy the park.
We hope to achieve obviously 2 new parks that people will actually go into. I think one of the problems is that I don't think many people knew of the parks or used the parks other than a through route, previously perhaps walking their dogs. So by restoring it and sort of bringing in a new sort of 21st century layer to the park, we hope that they sort of, they get another 80, 90, 100 years of use. It's something that we have a good record in, a good track record in. It's something we enjoy doing, and it's something it's good to be involved in, because you get to obviously work with a lot of the community groups as well, and sort of volunteers. We've done a lot of HLF restorations and parks restorations in the northeast. So it was a sort of a tender situation where we had to tender for the work with the county, sort of put in a price to do the work and also show examples of work that we've done. If we do a good job and the parks are renovated in such a way that, you know, people really enjoy using them again, then you hope that people take pride in that, and you know, the young people and everything like that don't go out there and start destroying it.
What a lot of people don't know is the history of the place. Whose coronation was it? Who was Tommy the Miller? So Tommy the Miller was a chap called Merrick Thomson, and he was the last miller on this site. He gave up the lease in about 1830 when he heard that the railway was coming through. Obviously that was going to be bad for business. The parks were very run down before, through a variety of reasons. Hopefully all this work will open up the parks, so make them lighter. It will encourage people to come in and, as I said, use them for what they were originally built for.
I'm really looking forward to Berwick people being able to enjoy it, to come and see it as it's restored to something like it was in the 1930s, but, you know, with that modern twist.
So one of the things I'm probably most excited about is the new planting in the parks. The kind of planting we're going to be putting in the park is kind of redolent of the 1930s, but maybe not as high maintenance as the 1930s planting. So lots of roses, lots of rhododendrons and herbaceous borders. The lily pond is going to be filled with water again. There are going to be lilies, water lilies in the centre of it, and there's going to be native planting around the edges of it, which will be great for wildlife. And great for kids to come along and do a bit of pond dipping and see what kind of wildlife moves into the park. Back in those days, we would have had about 6 gardeners working in them full time, and now we've only got 1. So a lot of the 1930s planting and feel of the parks will be there, but we won't have quite as many plants, so there isn't quite as much maintenance. But they will look pretty much like they were in the 1930s, but we're also trying to make them a bit more accessible. We're putting in a disabled ramp and that kind of thing, and handrails to help people in and out of the park.
I like the way that the park's been opened up. A lot of the bushes and the trees have been cut back to open up the views and take away some of the scariness, I think. Don't like enclosed places, as it were, with lots of bushes and things like that, and that's really being transformed. The lily pond is coming on great. That's going to be a great asset, and everything, once it's planted, you know, all this lovely planting that we're intending to do, new shrubs and flowers, and it's just going to look brilliant. It's going to look very smart, and it's going to be very user-friendly. In the past, the summer, it's such a sunshine trap, and I have been known to go down with a cup of coffee and a book, but like anyone who gardens, whether it's their own or like the park, if you see a weed, I'm sorry, but you have to pick it out. I love the work that's been done in the park. It's just brought everything alive.
New timber shelter there, which replaced the sort of old vandalised shelter there, which gives you a view down through the park and across to the river valley. The new gate, which has got the sort of rope motif, which you'll sort of notice throughout the park. For people to do that, they can now sort of sit out and have a picnic on the grass and obviously use the new shelter.
Put the seats in on the corners right next to the lily pond, and that has just transformed it for me to 1930s style. It's so much more open, and the colours all back there. It's when you see the old photographs, you can start to see how it's really started to match into that. It's just so open, and it's a real sun trap. Sort of a bank of colour with the rhododendrons and the rose garden a bit further round. The bit that I really love best is the viewpoint area.